Okay, we're going to Raven Caves for our first trip to Raven Caves. We pulled down here. It's a very small parking area, but we had just one space left. It looks like there's enough for about 7 or 8 cars right on the road, and off we go. Let's see what Raven Cave has to offer. So Raven Caves was really a nice little hike. The parking area was exactly 0.25 miles from where the caves were. Once you got to the caves, there was a small area of caves that were really fun to climb into, though. The hike down there was pretty simple. There was a bit of a downhill that you're seeing right now. Some loose rocks, but not overly difficult. Really pretty scenery looking down into Oak Creek Canyon. You climb down through this area, and just right around the corner is the caves. There's not a lot of room for a lot of people in the caves. There were 2 other people in the caves when we got there. But again, it's a really little known area. So that made it really nice. It's a short hike. It's a really great way to start your trip. It's easy to get to off the road. This is an area right before you get to the caves. When we're coming down, went through this little area. Just straight ahead is Oak Creek Canyon. You can actually see the creek down in the canyon. Here's where we're first seeing the caves. And as you can see, you have a bit of a climb, either coming across that ledge, or like I did, I went lower to look up at the caves. But it was not difficult really either way. Once you got into the cave system, which you'll see from the top in just a minute, there was a bit of a climb to get up to the top, but we actually came around the side and down to the caves, up into the caves, and then up to the top. You can actually take another little pathway as you're walking in if you veer to the right instead of to the left, and then you just end up right on top of where the cave system is. You can see there's a little bit of climb around the rock to get to the caves, but not overly difficult. And now I'm entering into the first part of the cave, and you can see it walks in, and there's a little tunnel here. That's the opening of the cave. Then there's a little opening here that you can crawl underneath this and go into the second section of the cave, where you'll find the area where you climb up. And that again is looking down into Oak Creek Canyon. But here's where you can go underneath into the second area of the cave that goes back further. It's another little opening that looks out into the canyon. Then you can turn and go back further into the cave. So really is a neat little cave system. That again is looking back out into the canyon. A really cool area for pictures if you want to take pictures of the sun coming through this opening. We were later in the evening, about 4 o'clock, so the sun was shining directly in through these openings, which was facing towards the west. And then this is climbing back further into the cave system, which will go to the left here and open up into a little climb that goes up to the top of the cave, right around the corner here. That's back looking out into the canyon. Just to the right of that is the area that you climb up to get to the top of the cave. And I'm going to climb up here in just a second. And now I've climbed up that area and I'm looking back down. So you climb that down there at the bottom is where I came out of the cave, and then I climbed up this little pathway, and then there's another little step up here, and now I'm on the top of the cave looking down into Oak Creek. Really nice area here with an incredible amount of scenery. So again, a short hike. This is Latham coming out of the cave, climbing up that area that I just showed you and coming to the top of the cave. And again, you can get to the top of the cave here by, when you come down the trail, just turning to the right instead of to the left, and you'll end up right here on the top of the cave. We started this hike about 3:30, and just a very short hike, easy hike. That's looking off into the distance. A Snoopy Rock where I'm pointing. The first area I pointed was Steamboat Rock, and then this is coming back down the trail. We're going back to the car, and we're going to head off to Bell Rock. This is the walk back to the car. It's just right at 1/4 of a mile. Okay, so that was the Raven Caves hike. It's 0.25 miles from the trailhead to the caves. The caves are pretty fun. There's a pretty fun / treacherous climb up to the top, or you can just walk around the top. Not a big cave system, but for being a 1/4 mile off the road for a warm-up hike, pretty cool. We've been here for 7 years and I never even knew about it. What'd you guys think?
It was fun.
I liked it. I wanted to see it back.
I did not.
We did not see any bats. We did see bat guano. All right, we parked across the road from Bell Rock and Capitol Butte at Yavapai Point because the parking at Bell Rock was terrible. So we're gonna walk down the road and then across. There's Bell Rock, Capitol Butte, Courthouse Bluff. And now we're walking up to Bell Rock. That's Bell Rock straight ahead of us. Courthouse Butte to the left. Starting to get later in the evening. As you can see, the sun has really set over Bell Rock for the most part, and you can see right now we're about 4:45. Sunset's at 5:12, so we're getting a late start on Bell Rock, but we're making the hike around the trail. When you come up to Bell Rock, there's a trailhead that circles towards the left that goes around. It looks like you're going to circle Bell Rock, but then you can cut back in and make your way up Bell Rock. There's multiple ways to get up Bell Rock. There's a lot of climbing on kind of dome-shaped slick rock. The first probably half of it is climbed just like this on some rock steps, working your way up. Once you get about halfway up, it kind of turns into a smooth dome shape like the lower part of the bell, which you're just kind of scurrying up. It's a little bit harder getting down because it's a little bit slicker. And so it's definitely a little bit more treacherous getting down than getting up. We actually came down with headlights on because it got dark on us right as we were starting our descent. But this time of day was just absolutely perfect because the sun had gone down over the top of the mountains, as you can see off in the distance there. And we're up on top of the lower summit of Bell Rock here, looking off into the distance. In the distance, the scenery is just incredible. This was our way kind of working up the upper part. It's kind of a more slick rock, but you are able to find footholds and crevices that come in. You can see in the distance it's really kind of a dome shape, flat, smooth rock. Working our way up to that summit picture that you saw, and off in the distance you can see basically every rock formation in Sedona from here. It's just an unbelievable view. It's definitely worth the work to climb up Bell Rock. I've been up Bell Rock twice. Here's Jackson making his scurry up. He's the best scurrier there is. Again, this is on the next to the top summit. We're looking back off in the distance at the sunset and just kind of taking our time resting up here, looking at the incredible view in the distance, and then it's back down and you can see the trailhead at the bottom, Courthouse Butte. The parking here is the difficult part because this is a very popular area and there's not a lot of parking. We actually parked up about a quarter of a mile down the road at a different parking area and walked in. And then this is scenery from about halfway up Bell Rock. You can see the sun setting on the mesas in the background. Definitely worth the climb if you're in Sedona. That's up to Bell Rock there. This was at the top of Bell Rock. We were able to look through a little crack between the rocks and see off in the distance with the sunset, and then looking back the other way. And then there's Jackson and Angie and Latham and Pearson climbing their way down. That was where we were sitting a little bit earlier, right up on that little top section there. This part coming down is definitely harder than coming up, but again, just a great climb, a great hike. This was something that we ate lunch today at the Hideaway House, which is an incredible place to eat. Had a great lunch. We got a late start, about 3:30, 3:45. We got to Raven Caves, but we knew we could hit Raven Caves and Bell Rock all in the same day and finish it off. And we had never been to Raven Caves. I just found it on All Trails. And the funny thing is, you talk to people around Sedona and people just don't know about Raven Caves, but it's a great little hike into a cave section that was just really amazing. So if you're coming to Sedona, it's definitely a place, especially I would think if you had young kids, teenage kids, they would love the Raven Caves hike. But this was Raven Caves and Bell Rock. We made the most of the last part of the day. We had about 2 hours and we got 2 good hikes in, hiked down with headlamps on. By the time we got to the parking area, it was really dark. We could see the stars. And here we are, again, working our way down. You can see the kind of dome-shaped, slick rock that you kind of have to get in a crab crawl and crawl down. This is, again, on our way down, working down towards the very end. You can see it's starting to get dark, and we eventually put our headlamps on and mow-yoed everywhere we go.